People like me don't fall in love. Not really. Not after everything I've seen. Everything I've lost. I built an empire from the ground up. I turned my father's dying business into a billion-dollar machine. But when my wife left, she didn't ask for the house. She asked for silence. And I gave it to her. Love became a liability. But legacy? That was something I could build. So I made a decision. One that required no vows, no hearts, no risk. I hired a surrogate. $10 million. One contract. She'd carry my child, deliver the heir I wanted, and then vanish. No visitation, no involvement. Clean. Simple. Emotionless. Or so I thought. Her name was Ava. Late 20s. Former NICU nurse. Healthy. Intelligent. Grounded. When I met her, she didn't smile the way people usually do around me. Forced. Careful, scared. She just looked me in the eye and said, "I'm not here for a handout. I'm here to help bring your child into the world. And I'll do it right." I respected that. I liked her honesty. But I never once considered what it might feel like to have her name spoken in my home, to hear her footsteps echo through my halls. The paperwork was thick. My lawyers thorough. Ava signed everything without hesitation. And I handed her the first check with the same coldness I signed business deals. It was just business. That's what I kept telling myself. She moved into a luxury suite I had built in one of my properties. Private medical care. Full-time staff. No stress. No contact with me, unless medically necessary. And for a while it worked. We were strangers bound by a legal agreement. Her body, my biology. A future that didn't include her. But looking back now, I realized the story started long before I signed the contract. It started the moment she walked into that sterile office and unknowingly walked into my life. The due date came early. Too early. I was in the middle of a meeting, boardroom, full of suits and screens, when I got the call. "Ava's in labor," they said. "There are complications." My heart didn't race. Not at first. Not until I heard the one word I hadn't planned for. Preterm. I dropped everything. The plane. The hospital. I don't even remember the drive. Just the cold sting of the hospital air. And the sight of Ava, pale, sweating, breathing through pain like she'd done this her whole life. They wouldn't let me into the room. I stood there, fists clenched, heart pounding, while a woman I barely knew fought to bring my daughter into the world. And then, I heard it. A cry. Small. Weak. But real. She was born 5 weeks early. 4 pounds. Frail. Lungs underdeveloped. They said she needed skin-to-skin contact. Natural breastfeeding. Her immune system couldn't handle formulas. I looked at Ava, exhausted, bandaged, cradling my child. Her hands trembling. Her hair stuck to her forehead. And without hesitation, she looked at the doctor and said, "I'll stay. For as long as she needs me." I didn't ask her to. She didn't ask me for more money. Not once. But in that moment, something inside me shifted. I moved Ava and the baby into my penthouse. There was a nursery prepared. Of course, designed by professionals, curated by decorators. But it wasn't ready for this. For real life. For round-the-clock care. For late-night feedings and tears I didn't know how to soothe. Ava moved through it all like she'd been here forever. She held Sophie, our daughter, as if she were more than just a surrogate. And every time I looked at her, I saw less of the contract and more of something I couldn't name yet. She slept on the couch for the first week, refusing to take the guest room. "Closer to the baby," she said. I offered the bed. She declined. I respected her boundaries. But I was starting to hate them. At night, I watched them on the baby monitor. Ava humming softly while Sophie nursed, her voice barely above a whisper. She wasn't supposed to feel this maternal. And I wasn't supposed to feel this. Pulled toward them. I'd signed a contract. She'd signed her rights away. But life doesn't care about ink and signatures. It only cares about moments. And moment by moment, Ava was becoming the heartbeat of a home I never realized was empty. Something changed in the house. It was subtle, like a shift in the air. The silence wasn't as sharp. The walls didn't echo as much. And it wasn't the baby. It was Ava. She started cooking. Not because I asked. Not because it was expected. But because she said it made her feel grounded. I just can't do takeout every day. Not with a baby around. She started with soup. Simple. Homemade. Smelled like something out of a memory I didn't even know I missed. The kind of smell that made you want to sit down and stay a while. And before I knew it, I was sitting, watching her stir a pot. Sophie in her bassinet, cooing like she belonged in that kitchen. Like we all did. the house, began to soften. She brought in fresh flowers. Not expensive ones. Just cheerful, lively. There was music, low jazz playing in the background, books in the living room, baby clothes drying near the windows. For the first time in years, my home felt like a home, and I hated how much I noticed her. The way her hair would fall across her face when she bent to pick up Sophie. The way she sang off-key while folding baby blankets. The way she always remembered to leave a mug of tea on the counter, just in case I came home late. It wasn't part of the contract. None of it was. One night, I walked into the dining room and saw 2 plates. Not 1, 2. She looked up, maybe a little embarrassed. And I'll never forget what she said. I figured, it might be nice to eat together. Just once. We didn't talk much that first dinner. Just passed bread. Shared glances. But when she laughed at something I said, really laughed, it cracked. Something inside me wide open. Because it had been so long since laughter lived here. And it felt good. Too good. Later that night, I found myself standing in the hallway, watching her through the baby monitor. She was rocking Sophie, humming softly, half asleep herself. She kissed the baby's forehead like it came naturally, like she'd been meant to. And I realized something I wasn't ready to admit. This woman, this stranger I hired, was making this house feel like something I never thought I'd have again. A family. But I couldn't let myself fall. Not yet. Because there was still a contract on the table. Still a line between us. And I wasn't sure what would happen if I crossed it. I told myself not to notice. But I did. Every day, I noticed her more. It started small. The way she moved through the house like she belonged there. Like she'd always been there. No permission. No performance. Just presence. One afternoon, I walked in from a meeting, tense, worn out. Another investor trying to bleed us dry. And then I heard it. Her laugh. Not polite. Not reserved. Not the kind of laugh people give me when they're nervous or trying to impress. It was full. Free. Honest. I stood in the hallway and listened to her on the phone with her sister. She was talking about Sophie and me. No, he's not as cold as he looks. I mean, he tries to be, but I've seen him hold her. He melts like butter. I should have been annoyed. But I wasn't. For the first time in years, I was the subject of someone's joy. And it felt good. She hung up, turned, and saw me standing there. A little color flushed into her cheeks. Eavesdropping, Mr. Hale? Maybe. That night, I stayed longer in the nursery. Sophie had trouble sleeping again. Ava rocked her gently, whispering lullabies. And when she couldn't calm her, she handed her to me. Without hesitation. Without fear. She knows your voice. Just talk. She listens to you. And so I did. I held my daughter and spoke. About the stars. About the company. About her mother, who was never supposed to stay. And for the first time, she fell asleep in my arms. Ava smiled like it was the most natural thing in the world. Like she'd always known it would be this way. That night, she left the nursery door open. I passed by twice. Just to look. Just to make sure they were both real. Because something in me, something buried and broken, was beginning to hope again. She wasn't supposed to be more than a contract. She wasn't supposed to be in my memories. In my daydreams. In my life. But Ava wasn't just carrying my child anymore. She was carrying my peace. And every time she laughed, every time she smiled, I started to believe that maybe, just maybe, my heart hadn't died after all. We were drifting toward something unspoken, and we both knew it. But we didn't talk about it. Instead, we kept dancing around the line. She made coffee before I could. I warmed bottles before she asked. She started leaving post-it notes on the fridge. Don't forget to eat. Meeting at 3 p.m. Your daughter likes sleeping on your chest. FYI. Your daughter. Not the baby. Not Sophie. She called her mine. But she never called herself ours. One evening, I walked in to find Ava asleep on the couch. Sophie curled up beside her, both of them breathing in sync. The TV was on, low volume. Some old black and white film flickering in the background. I didn't wake them. I just stood there, watching, wanting to take a photograph with my eyes. Because I knew, deep down, this wasn't forever. We had a contract. And contracts end. The next morning, I asked my lawyer to send me a fresh copy. Not to enforce it. To end it. I didn't know what I was doing. All I knew was, I didn't want to lose her. And part of me believed, hoped, she might feel the same. But later that night, she beat me to the conversation. I was feeding Sophie when Ava stood at the doorway. Her voice softer than I'd ever heard it. She's getting stronger, isn't she? I nodded. She didn't look at me. just kept staring at our daughter. Which means, you won't need me much longer. That's not true. It is. We both know it. I wanted to say 1,000 things. That she mattered. That I noticed her. That her laugh healed something in me I thought was gone. But I didn't say any of that. Instead, I said the one thing that scared me the most. You're not just Sophie's surrogate, Ava. You're her mother. And you're becoming something more to me, too. She didn't answer right away. She looked at me like she was seeing me for the first time. And then, quietly, she whispered, "You shouldn't say that. Not if you don't mean it." But I did. God help me, I did. And I didn't care about the contract anymore. Because the only thing binding me now was the way she'd made my heart start beating again. After I told her how I felt, she disappeared. Not physically. She was still in the house. Still feeding Sophie. Still moving through the rooms like she belonged. But she wouldn't look at me. The dinners stopped. The laughter faded. And the woman who had filled my home with light began dimming her own. I didn't understand it. Not until I found her outside one night, wrapped in a blanket on the balcony, staring into the dark. I brought her a cup of tea, set it down beside her. Didn't say a word. She spoke first. "You don't know who I am. Then tell me. I used to be a NICU nurse. I took care of babies like Sophie. But after my sister died, I couldn't stay in that hospital another day. I raised her son, gave up everything for him. And when he turned 18, he left. No goodbye. No thank you. Just gone. I'm sorry. I'm not. I loved him like he was mine. But it taught me something. Love doesn't guarantee anything. Not loyalty. Not permanence. You give it. And sometimes it walks away." She finally looked at me. Eyes glassy but strong. "You think this is a fairy tale? That I'll just become part of your perfect picture. But I wasn't built for castles or billionaires. I was built for survival." I moved closer, sat beside her. "Maybe I don't want a perfect picture. Maybe I just want what's real. And you're the realest thing I've ever known." She didn't say anything, just leaned her head on my shoulder. And we sat there like that. No promises, no confessions, just the quiet comfort of two broken people, learning how to trust again. That night, I didn't try to kiss her, didn't try to hold her hand. I just listened. Because sometimes, love doesn't arrive with fireworks. Sometimes, it arrives with silence. And a woman, finally letting you see the pieces she's kept hidden from the world. After that night on the balcony, something shifted. Not loud, not dramatic, just quiet understanding. She stopped pulling away. I stopped holding back. We didn't label anything, didn't rush. But our days began to move differently, like the house had found a new rhythm. Ava's rhythm, Sophie's rhythm, ours. Mornings started with the smell of cinnamon toast. Afternoons filled with baby giggles and shared stories. Evenings were slow, peaceful. We started watching movies together. She sat closer now. Her head would rest on my shoulder without asking. And one night, as I tucked Sophie in, Ava appeared behind me and whispered something I didn't expect to hear. "You're a good father, Ethan." I turned, looked at her, and for the first time, I said it out loud. "You're more than just her surrogate, Ava. You're her mother. You've been her mother from the moment you chose to stay." She didn't cry. She just smiled. And then, finally, she kissed me. Not a dramatic kiss. Not rushed. Just real. Like we both knew what it meant. That night, she didn't sleep on the couch. She didn't sleep in the guest room. She crawled into my bed, nervous, but sure, and curled into me like she belonged. Because she did. We woke up tangled in sunlight and silence. And I swear to God, I felt whole. But life doesn't stay still forever. Later that afternoon, as Ava was rocking Sophie by the window, my assistant buzzed through the intercom. "Sir, you're going to want to see this." I opened my laptop, and there it was. A headline, a photo, a leak, tabloid headline. Billionaire Ethan Hales. Surrogate moves in. But is there more than just a baby? Between them, they knew. The media knew. And the internet was already tearing her apart. I looked up. Ava was still singing to Sophie. Still peaceful. Still unaware. But in that moment, I knew. This story we were building was about to be tested. The morning after the leak, Ava's face was all over the tabloids. Not mine. Not Sophie's. Just hers. A photo of her walking with a baby stroller. Smiling, probably at something innocent, something sweet. But the headlines twisted it. She read every single one. I came downstairs to find her sitting on the couch, phone in hand, eyes vacant. They called me a fraud. A scam artist. Said I planned all of this. She didn't cry, but she looked like someone who had been stripped bare in public. Someone who had been hurt before and expected to be hurt again. I sat beside her. We can fix this. I'll release a statement. And say what, Ethan? That your surrogate accidentally stole your heart? That now she lives in your mansion and sleeps in your bed? I reached for her hand. She pulled away. This is your world. It's press conferences and boardrooms and $10 million decisions. It's not. Home-cooked dinners and lullabies and a woman like me. Then let's change it. Let me change it for you. For us. You can't rewrite who I am. She stood up, walked to Sophie's bassinet, ran her fingers through our daughter's hair, and then said the words that knocked the breath from my chest. Maybe it's better if I leave before it gets worse. Ava, you don't need me anymore. She's healthy now. The contract's over. And love, it's not enough to survive a storm like this. I watched her walk up the stairs with our daughter in her arms. And I felt it, deep in my gut. I was losing them. Not because I stopped caring, but because I never said it clearly enough. That I didn't want her to stay because she was the mother of my child. I wanted her to stay because she was the love of my life. And if I didn't stop her, if I didn't fight for her, then I'd be the one who let the best thing that ever happened to me walk away. The next morning, she was gone. No argument. No long goodbye. Just a note on the kitchen counter. I love you, Ethan, but I don't belong in your world. I hope you understand. I'll always be grateful for what we had. For Sophie. And for you. I stood in that kitchen for an hour, staring at that note like I could somehow change the words if I just looked hard enough. But she was right about one thing. This world of mine. It eats people like her alive. And I had let her stand in the fire alone. I canceled all my meetings, turned off my phone, handed Sophie to my housekeeper, and drove. I didn't even know where I was going at first. Just knew I had to find her. Somewhere in this city. A woman was walking away with my whole heart in her arms. I checked the shelter she volunteered at. Nothing. Called the last hospital she worked for. No record. No answers. And then, I remembered the address on her old job application. An old apartment complex on the edge of town. When I knocked, she didn't open the door. But I heard Sophie crying inside. Please, open the door. She stood there. No makeup, tired eyes, a baby on her hip. And somehow, still the most beautiful thing I'd ever seen. Why are you here? Because I'm done building a life without you in it. I took a breath and said it. Not because it was easy, but because love demands truth. I love you, Ava. Not the contract. Not the arrangement. You. I love the way you laugh when you burn toast. The way you look at our daughter like she hung the stars. The way you made my house a home just by being in it. And I can't go back to a life that doesn't have you in it. She didn't speak right away. She just stared at me, like her heart was still deciding whether it was safe. And then, she stepped aside. Come in. And I did. Not just into the apartment, but into the life I should have fought for sooner. We didn't rush back into it. No grand declarations. No news conferences or photo ops. Just slow mornings. Late night feedings. And a second chance at something real. Ava moved back in a week later. Not because I begged, but because she wanted to. Because she chose us. I remember the day we finalized Sophie's birth certificate. There was a blank space beside mine. Mother's name. Ava hesitated. You sure? More than I've ever been. She signed it. And that moment, more than money, more than contracts, made us a family. A few weeks later, I took her to the garden behind the house. The one she always said looked too perfect to be real. I knelt down, hands shaking, heart racing like a teenager. And I asked the woman who carried my child, who made my house a home, who taught me what real love feels like, to be my wife. Took you long enough. Yeah, I get that a lot. We married 6 months later. No press. No headlines. Just a small ceremony in the backyard. Sophie drooling on Ava's dress. And in front of a few close friends, and the God we both nearly forgot. I promised her forever. Some people say love is fate. Others say it's timing. But I think sometimes, love is a choice. A choice to stay. A choice to try. A choice to hold someone's hand and build something new. Even if it started with something as complicated as a contract. She gave me a daughter. She gave me a home. She gave me my heart back. And every morning, when I wake up to the sound of 2 girls laughing down the hall, I remember just how close I came to losing them. Her name was Ava, and she was never just a surrogate. She was the woman who taught me that family isn't built by blood alone. It's built by love.